This story is about an adventurer, Tsukasa Amashiki, who could change his jobs in the blink of an eye and fight like an experienced mage, swordsman, assassin, and even switch to support roles to strengthen his very own attacks and wipe out monsters to rank up. In his previous life, he used to be a top-notch corporate worker and was known to not be contained by a single company for a long time. He made his way up the packages every few months and eventually landed an interview in a company with 300 billion annual turnover. Even their entrance looked worthy of a great company, as everything was organized quite well. He told the receptionist he was here for his final interview, and while he waited, he recalled that hopping jobs was kinda necessary for him if he wanted to keep honing his skills and always aim for higher heights. Now, this large company was going to be his next foothold. He doesn't doubt himself at all about getting this interview, since he's confident in his skills, and even in previous rounds, he was a lot better than the competition. Now, he just needs to get through this final interview and get another successful job. He was called in when it was his turn, and Tsukasa stood up, reminding himself once again he got this easy, and the amount and quality of his experience is certainly something no company would like to pass on. However, for some reason, his interview room looked like a scene from another world. He thought he entered the wrong room by mistake, but when he tried to return, there was no door behind either. Tsukasa knew he was done for, admitting he's lost now. He was going insane and grabbed his hairs out of confusion, thinking what would happen to the interview now. He then noticed his skin looked smooth for some reason. When he checked his phone, he realized that his body had aged back to the time when he was 18 years old. With his level of experience at this age, Tsukasa thought any company would hire him instantly. But then reality hit him, and he fell down on knees, as he had to find a way back for that. He wondered if this place was even Japan, or elsewhere in the world. Tsukasa walked, and only saw never-seen-before plants, and even some creatures which don't seem to be real. This led him to think he might have been isekai'd in another world, just like those games in anime. Even if that's supposed to be just fiction, it's the most reasonable conclusion to make sense of his surroundings. And when he called out status, a card appeared in his hands. This confirmed his theory, as he could see his abilities and stats like he was a game character. He could tell that his mana power was exceptional, and his daily exercise must have been effective for other stats to be considerably good right at the beginning. And as for his profession, it showed the title Job Changer. He wondered what are the features of the job changer profession, and the description said he could change to any desired profession out there in this world, and changing jobs consume mana power. There was a whole list of professions he could choose from, and he wonders if he got this profession because he used to hop jobs like clothes. But more importantly, he wondered how his interview venue led him to another world. His arrival here was a whole mystery, and he wondered if some guide or help might come if he just waited. But maybe nothing will happen, so he needs to do something before running out of water. Tsukasa wasn't the type to just sit and do nothing, so he started exploring his surroundings with a positive mindset, but then he countered something that broke his positive attitude. When the mantis monster looked at him, Tsukasa froze in place until the mantis started chasing him. He ran with all his might, thinking that positivity backfired, and if he kept running like this, he would get caught eventually by it. So, he stopped to face the mantis and shouted at it to stop right there, they should talk this out. But the mantis unleashed more swings at him, and he ducked just in time, leaving the tree the only thing to get hit by it. Tsukasa realized talking won't do, and he needed to do something else. Otherwise, he'll die on the very first day in this world. He thought of possibly options and decided to try out his job change profession, switching his first job to a mage. Suddenly, a whole lot of knowledge about magic poured into his brain, and he understood it all as if it was natural. After that, he just casted one spell, Fireball, and suddenly a huge ball of flames engulfed the mantis. Tsukasa saw it burning to ashes before his eyes, and was surprised to see it was that effective. He got a clue now about how to survive in this world. He recalls changing his jobs was done way fast, enough that he could literally switch jobs in between battles and still fight efficiently. He then got the notification of level up, and checked his stats which were increased after the experience points gained from the monster. This world was really just like a game, and Tsukasa could still feel the heat of magic at his hand, and he was still a bit trembling, since he almost got his head beheaded there. He learned an important lesson. If he took this world lightly thinking of it as a game, he would lose his life any moment. Thus, he became determined to master this world just like all the careers he mastered in his previous world, and live a better life he always wanted. But his career in past life was meant for climbing up modern Japan, so it disappointed him. That also means all that experience and skills he gained in previous life became useless now. Tsukasa fell down on knees, feeling hurt and upset. But even so, he knows better that it's useless to grieve and he has to build a new career from scratch. And this power of Job Changer kinda matches his personality, and it's also powerful enough for combat and survival in this world. If he raises the levels of numerous professions, he could prove his strength anywhere in this world just like any other company in past life. He made up his mind to master all jobs in the world and have that luxurious life he always wanted. First, he sat down in one spot and figured the water won't be a problem since he could get it from magic. And since he clearly can't just camp out in the wild in an unknown world, he needs to solve the basic survival needs, which is food, clothing, and shelter. First, he needs to find a settlement, for which he got an idea to try switching to a job that works out for it. He used 20 MP for job change and 10 for fireball. Still got 472 out of 500, which means his MP is recovering back slowly thanks to mage job. In that case, he didn't need to be stingy with job changes. Thus, he changed his job to hunter, which had benefits like sharper senses and made it easier to detect anomalies in nature. He got down and placed ear on the ground to hear surroundings, and thankfully, he was able to hear footsteps of humans. Moreover, he also noticed blood around leaves, along with footprints of humans and wolves, which means there was a battle around here, most likely from 2 days ago. He decided to follow the footprints, expecting to find a settlement on the way. And after looking for a while, Tsukasa really managed to find a village, which even though it was small, still meant a lot to him, who arrived alone in this world. He was extremely happy to meet people again, and switched his job to mage before approaching them. At the village's gate, he met a guy with a spear, and greeted him with a business smile. That guy looked at him strangely and remarked on his odd dress. He asked Tsukasa who he was, and our guy introduced himself to him as a wandering mage. The guy's behavior switched 180 the moment he heard mage, finding it hard to believe a job holder would come to such a remote place. He asked Tsukasa to show his status plate, and he showed it without minding, proving he was really a mage. The guy apologized for doubting Tsukasa, claiming it was just unusual. Job holders were usually hired by a country of nobles, or they worked as adventurers in big towns. So, in remote places they are extremely rare to come across. Tsukasa realized this world also has places where one could utilize their full potential. Then he lied to the guy that he had actually been living in mountains till now, honing his magic, and now would like to experience village life for a change. The guy just believed his lie, after which Tsukasa was allowed entry into the village. But then the guy told him he actually had a request for a job holder like him. He asked Tsukasa to follow him to the village chief's house. Later at the village chief's house, the guy just barged in to report the chief out of excitement. And the village chief asked the guy, Zozo, what it is. Zozo replied they got a job holder in their village. The village chief's eyes sparkled, and he ran to Zozo asking if he's really telling the truth. Zozo checked Tsukasa's status plate, after which the village chief introduced himself to Tsukasa as Esta, the village chief. Tsukasa politely introduced himself back as well, and he asked Esta about the request Zozo mentioned. Esta told him that a silver wolf monster pack has appeared near their village. Tsukasa knew it, since he saw traces earlier when he was a hunter. Esta mentioned they managed to handle a few of the wolves, but their whole pack was something else, and they hoped they could have a job holder help them. Tsukasa asked if there were other job holders in this village. Zozo replied there were none. They were all just common villagers. Tsukasa realized job holders were rarer than he thought, and since there's constant threat of monsters, even with high risk, that is a pretty good demand for combat jobs. He asked more about Silver Wolf, and they filled him in on details, along with its danger rank being E, which is second lowest. And apparently even a few villagers could take down one wolf, but they can't risk getting anyone injured because it's a small village and everyone works on farming to maintain their livelihood. In short, Tsukasa would need to deal with those wolves disturbing the village. The village chief boards down to request him take on this task. They will do their best to reward him generously. Tsukasa doesn't see a reason not to accept this request, since he got powerful jobs and has already determined himself to aim for career advancement in this world. He wanted to do whatever would benefit him. The village chief and Zozo jumped in happiness, and they thanked him for taking up the request. Tsukasa thought they were quite simple villagers, and since he doesn't know anything about this world, he might be able to get some help from them out of his favor. Then without any delay, he wanted to head out and finish the job, but then his stomach said otherwise, and he asked the chief if he could get something to eat first. They were surprised a job holder didn't have food on him, after which they treated him to some food and he thanked them for the meal. He also got a pair of clothes that match the style of this world, although this kind of feels like he's doing some cosplay. He went ahead to the forest, and on the way observed there were many kinds of herbs on the path. He wondered if they're useful, and to check that, he scrolled through the jobs list and changed to an appraiser. The herbs before him were dozel herb, which was excellent for making medicines. It seemed worth collecting, so Tsukasa picked up some of them, thinking that he could give a try to an apothecary and alchemist job later with these herbs, and in future, he could even make his own options and sell them. The possibility of his skills were endless. As he went further, he saw some fake Dazzle herb which looks like the real ones but are toxic if consumed. Thankfully, he had an appraisal to determine the good and bad herbs. He recalled that, in games people could usually switch to higher jobs or different ones when they reach a certain level. But right now, he could do so flexibly and even retain some knowledge from the previous job. He had a hunch his skills might get carried over, so he tried using Stone Lance magic to confirm if he could use mage skills as an appraiser. He was really able to cast it, but it was smaller than expected and shooting it took a heavy toll on him. Tsukasa felt a huge drop in the MP and found out that a single stone lance cost him 50 MP. Thus, he learned he could use magic even without being a mage, but the efficiency takes a nosedive. He rested a bit on the ground, thinking of possible uses for this discovery, since it opens his door to catch people off guard by pretending to be a swordsman and suddenly use magic out of nowhere or vice versa. And even if the power of the spell was small, it should be enough to leave the other party thinking for a moment. So, even that huge MP cost is worth it if he could have a trump card like that. First, he needed to increase his level, but right then, he smelled a faint smell of a beast from nearby and got on his guard, until he confirmed the beast was none other than a pack of silver wolves. They really were near the village after all. It seems their main stat is agility, which is still lower than his. So, if Tsukasa wanted, he could escape. But he wanted to fight them, so he switched to mage and began casting stone lances at the wolves from behind the bushes to catch them off guard. He really hit the three of them and took down two in first shots, but the third one was still alive and jumped at him. Tsukasa braced himself and casted stone lance again, killing off the wolf in the very last moment. He survived this fight somehow, after which he went to confirm if these wolves are really dead. Once he was certain, he took a breath of relief and checked his stats. His level and stats rose up from the experience points he gained just now, and just around now, he could also sense more silver wolves from the pack gathering here. So, this time he wanted to give it a try to repeatedly switch jobs while fighting, making full use of the silver wolves as his stepping stones. When he left the village, Zozo told him to collect silver wolf's fangs as proof of his victory, so he collected them, and also got a closer look of these creatures, who came at him with full killing intent. To survive in this world, Tsukasa was sure of one thing, that he needed to master the art of job changing as soon as possible. And besides, there's something else he would like to check. During his level up, he noticed his stats increasing, but the stats related to his active class take up significant boost compared to other points, which means if he had used a sword to kill the wolves, instead of his intelligence, his strength would have increased. He sensed the other wolves have gotten close now, so he prepared to face them all. But when he saw their numbers were over 6, Tsukasa was a little afraid, and yet he needed to fight them now that he was surrounded. He casted Stone Lance simultaneously to make sure to attack them all at once. In front of incoming rocks, some of these wolves managed to get past them with sheer agility. They kept charging straight at him, and Tsukasa realized he wouldn't be able to deal with them with just magic. Fortunately, one rock lance pierced through the closest wolf, which gave him a moment to think. Next, to deal with the rest of them, he figured using magic won't do from this close range. Thus, he switched jobs to a swordsman and unsheathed his blade to fight the wolves. It was incredibly and greatly efficient to fight the wolves with a sword in close range. He felt power surging through his arms, cutting off monsters whose movements suddenly seemed slower than normally. He got a feel of what it's like to be a swordsman, and eventually he killed off the whole silver wolf pack. He gained a considerable amount of experience and leveled up as a swordsman, gaining more strength and agility stat points. Now that it's confirmed that each job influences different stats, he could control what he wants to enhance next, which in itself was a great discovery. Tsukasa was beginning to like experimenting with his stats more, so he went ahead and tried out his leveled up skills and some other classes. It's been an hour since he killed those wolves, and no new monsters showed up afterwards. Means he has dealt with the silver wolves around the village, and going further inside the forest seemed unnecessary and dangerous. He decided to take back these 13 silver wolf's fangs, feeling satisfied by the hunt today. On his way back, Tsukasa spotted the corpses of silver wolves he defeated earlier, and thought their bodies would be devoured by other monsters or something by now. But now that they are still here, he can't help but notice the good condition of the fur, which made him curious if more parts of the silver wolf's body are useful. He used appraisal on the body and learned that the silver wolf's pelt was suitable for good clothing, and even the meat was edible and full of flavor. It confirmed the silver wolf's corpse was useful after all, so he didn't wish to let anything go to waste and used psychic skills to carry them all back to the village. If he were a hunter right now, he could handle the dismantling as well. But Tsukasa was tired for the day and decided to leave the rest to villagers. Later in the village, people were thrown into chaos when Zozo alerted everyone that a huge monster was heading this way, and it looked like something they had never seen before. More villagers went to check it, only to meet with fear upon the sight of an unknown creature. Zozo then noticed something coming out from the fur, and realized it was actually Tsukasa. Tsukasa was glad he finally reached the village, since it was extremely difficult to carry all those silver wolves back. Zozo, who ran away earlier from the surprise, questioned Tsukasa what the hell were those things around him. Tsukasa floated one of the corpses to show Zozo from up close. It's just a silver wolf, but the main thing Tsukasa wanted to know was why the hell was it floating? Tsukasa realized villagers really don't know how magic looks when in use. And that aside, he explained the reason he carried back these corpses was so they could make use of them. The village chief arrived upon hearing Tsukasa was back. Then Tsukasa gave him the fangs as proof of his hunt, saying there were a total 11 of them. Moreover, he made sure to check there were no more wolves nearby the village anymore, which means the village should be safe from the silver wolves. Villagers erupted in cheers, extremely glad they wouldn't have to live in constant fear anymore. Tsukasa didn't know it was such a big deal for these guys, and he's just glad he got to level up while doing this quest and also learned a bit about this world. Zozo then hugged him tight out of nowhere, claiming they owed him one for helping them. Tsukasa replied he was just doing his job, but the village chief Esta let him know what he did really meant a lot. He bowed to express his gratitude to Tsukasa, and Tsukasa felt strangely happy in his heart. He was just doing his job, and he didn't expect to be thanked so much by these guys. It reminds him of the time when he landed a big contract for his company, then got praised by his bosses, but his colleagues were jealous of him and started bitching behind his back. Tsukasa has been used to tolerating that kind of jealousy and undercutting the atmosphere from the previous world, so much that now that he was genuinely thanked by so many people, it was uncomfortable for him. He tried to change the atmosphere and asked villagers to handle the dismantling for him, but the response was extremely warm, and they looked like they wanted to help him genuinely. They also asked him what he plans on doing with the materials. After dismantling, Tsukasa replied he'd like to sell the fur and just give the meat to villagers. The village chief was thrilled to hear that, since fresh meat was a rare treat here. All the villagers immediately began preparing for a feast, and they brought whatever they had to add more fun to the feast and brought alcohol so they could drink to their heart's content today. While everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves, Tsukasa was amazed how quickly the atmosphere turned festive. However, Tsukasa suddenly felt his head aching, as if he was about to collapse from exhaustion. The village chief asked him if he's all right, but Tsukasa just replied, it's fine, and he needs a break. He requested for a place where he could stay over, and the chief felt sorry for not offering sooner. He and other villagers took Tsukasa to the place where he'll be staying for the day, and once he got into the bed, he was in total rest mode. Tsukasa figured this was a good start in this new world, and he'll use this village as a base to hunt a little more monsters and gain more levels and knowledge about the world, since there's still a lot of unknowns out there. When he woke up from his sleep, he noticed the sky was still bright, thinking that he should have woken up around night. Tsukasa managed to sleep throughout the whole commotion caused by villagers during the celebration, and in a few minutes, the chief came to check up on him. The chief claimed he didn't wake him up since he was sleeping so soundly earlier. He brought breakfast for Tsukasa since he seemed to be tired. After seeing a whole bowl full of vegetables and meat, Tsukasa drooled while holding his stomach, since he hadn't eaten anything since noon yesterday. He enjoyed the delicious and warm meal, feeling grateful to the village chief for being so considerate. And when he saw the meat, he knew it had to be silver wolves, which was really full of flavors like the appraisal said. Lastly, he had the bread which dried out all the moisture from his mouth just right, followed by well-cooked rice. Tsukasa kept eating the meal wholeheartedly, since it was exactly the kind of meals he always wanted even in his previous world. He prayed after finishing the meal and thanked the cook for the delicious serving. After that, the village chief called him to the living room to give him a reward for defeating the silver wolves. Tsukasa checked the pouch, consisting of 13 silver coins. And since he doesn't really know their worth in this world, he asked the village chief to help him out with understanding money, excusing that he didn't know anything since was secluded in mountains all this time. The village chief briefed him about money and what things he could afford generally with silver coins. After talking for a while, Tsukasa learned that a silver coin is worth 1,000 yen, gold 1,000, iron 10, and a big gold coin 1,000,000 yen. He immediately decided to earn big gold coins in the future. Moreover, the chief explained the guild had set standard rates for subjugating different monsters, and he made sure to pay Tsukasa accordingly. He didn't want to lie or haggle the one who helped them so much, and if anyone had a bad experience here, other adventurers won't probably aid them in future anymore. Tsukasa could see that the chief could have taken advantage of an ignorant person like him if he wanted, but they were honest. Moreover, the village chief gave him payment of the fur next, which turned out to be around 50 copper coins. Tsukasa was wondering, if he had been in the previous world, he would have surely tried to get as much payment as possible, but he couldn't do it with the village chief since he didn't want to strain their relationship. Next, the chief asked him for his help with one more thing. Esta mentioned that some of the villagers were injured by silver wolves in the past, and they need medicines for them, but they were short in dosal, herb, which was needed for concoction. Tsukasa recalled it was the same herbs he harvested. He thought that this could be his chance to test out the priest's job and heal the villagers. It could be seen badly, as if he was encroaching on gratitude. So, he just decided to give only what they asked for. He showed the dosal herbs he collected to the village chief. The village chief was impressed by him, being so thorough about his work that he already collected them. After that, the village chief offered to show Tsukasa to the apothecary of their village, since they are going to give herbs to her. Tsukasa definitely wanted to see how an apothecary works. But on the way, Chief told him the old woman they are meeting is not actually an apothecary by profession. Tsukasa sighed, as he thought he could gain some information if she were a real apothecary with a specific job. The chief knocked on the door upon arrival, and an old woman came out, shouting, "Why the hell is he here again already?" She told him there's no dosal herb, so she can't make the medicine. But our boy wondered why he was scolded for no reason. The village chief informed Gerda, the old woman, that they have the herbs now, in which case she told them to come in, with the same strict tone. She took them to the room where she makes medicines, and Tsukasa noticed there were many scents and different kinds of herbs all over the place. He wonders if she's really that much experienced despite not having an apothecary job. Then Gerda called him out and asked him to hand over the herbs. Tsukasa gave her the bag of dosal herbs, and she confirmed he really collected the right ones, and was in good condition at that. Tsukasa then asked her out of curiosity, could one make medicine even without an apothecary job? She shouted, why the hell not, because as long as one has knowledge, anyone could make medicine, just like how one doesn't need to be a chef to cook. Tsukasa wonders what's the difference left then, between one having a job and not. He asked her what's the benefits of having an apothecary job. She replied that in that case, things will just come to the job holder naturally, like knowledge of proper mixing ratios, effectively mixing and all. Tsukasa realized Granny Gerda knows a lot for sure, and in short, having a job will just enhance one's efficiency and knowledge about their work. He thanked her for the knowledge and was about to leave, but then she stopped him and said she needed a man's help to make the medicine for so many people. She stopped him for help, while the village chief just left him there and made his escape. Thus, Tsukasa was now living at Gerda's home to help her out with the medicine, and even the grinding process was a lot more difficult than he thought. And when he asked her how it is now, she replied not bad for the first time, then handed him another bunch of herbs to grind. Tsukasa was already tired of this, and he doesn't even know why is here doing unrelated tasks in the first place. Gerda was also scolding him to work faster than he already was, pissing him off even more. Now he had enough, so Tsukasa decided to just switch his job to apothecary and see how much a job could improve his efficiency. The moment he switched his job, Gerda could notice a slight difference in his behavior, while Tsukasa could see the roles of herbs in the mixing process. And that wasn't all. He could even grind much more efficiently. Gerda pointed out he had gotten all better at this suddenly. Tsukasa thanked her for the compliment, and he could feel some sensation from when he was a swordsman. It was adding to his work efficiency as an apothecary as well. He then asked Gerda if she was drying those herbs there right now. Gerda agreed she was, and the herbs needed some time to be dried before they could be used in making potions. He then asked her to let him handle it, and she became suspicious of his actions. She saw him drying the herbs with skills unique to an apothecary. Once he was done with it, he asked her if they were good to go. Gerda asked him if he wasn't a mage, then how could he dry the herbs so quickly, which was a skill unique to an apothecary? Tsukasa hasn't been questioned like that since he arrived in this world, and since he doesn't see a reason to lie, he came out clear to Gerda that his real job was job changer, and he just switched it to apothecary to test it out. Gerda was shocked to hear that, and he asked her if it's that unusual, given how shocked she was. Gerda confirmed that's right. Tsukasa even looks different now, and the fact that one could change jobs was unheard of in this world, since jobs are gifts people are born with, and nobody could change their job or choose them no matter what. So far, Tsukasa thought this world had rules like a game, where one could change jobs after reaching a certain level. But turns out, in this world, people can only work with on-job, and they could reach masteries of it to achieve higher level of the same, but they could still never change them. Tsukasa thought if Gerda was the one saying this, despite her lifetime of experience, it means his job-changing profession was just exclusive to him. Gerda then told him to be very careful in how he uses his power. He understood her words because, with such an advantageous job, he can't just go around revealing it. And that aside, Gerda figured since he's an apothecary now, she might as well teach him a thing or two herself. Tsukasa had a bad feeling about this and tried to turn down her offer, saying he's not skilled enough. She asked him what level he is at as an apothecary. Tsukasa replied it was still level 1, which was intolerable to her, and she told him that's all the more reason for him to do what she says. She took him to the storeroom, where she had even more kinds of herbs and plants, promising to make sure he levels up smoothly and also gains some knowledge he can't get even with his job. She told him that's not a bad offer for him, and since our boy was always thriving to improve his skills, he couldn't turn down such an offer even if he wanted to. He started thinking of Granny Gerda as a witch for pulling him into her trap. Some days have passed since Tsukasa arrived in the village. He has started hunting rabbits and such often with his hunting job. It was surely a good routine to level up, and he has grown a bit accustomed to this world as well. The horned rabbits he just hunted are known for tasty meat, and villagers look forward to hunting them as basic meat necessary of theirs. Tsukasa recalled this cycle of him being exploited by villagers started when he helped out Granny Gerda. Since that day, whenever villagers noticed his skills in different things, they would invite him for tasks like hunting. He thought perhaps he could benefit either way, so he joined hunts with Zozo and others. Then, during the hunt one day, he sensed there was something unusual about the whole place. They have already taken care of the silver wolves, but with his hunter instincts, Tsukasa was feeling so many things about the forest, coming to the conclusion another pack of wolves was trying to move into this forest. When he told that to villagers, they were afraid, but he reassured them they don't need to worry, as it won't be immediate, and they just need to stay cautious of that side he's pointing at. Villagers were bummed to hear that, since they were preparing for winters right now. Tsukasa assured them he would search the forest while hunting later, after which he spent some time alone in the forest hunting monsters and raised his hunting job to level 5. Although it has become harder to level up now, so he was having a thought of moving on to a new place. He was a little bit worried about the villagers as well, but in the end, he was just a guest here. Upon his return to village, he noticed things were unusually lively today, and inside he found a pair of horses and some merchants who were here to sell their products. Zozo saw Tsukasa and told him these merchants come here once in a while to sell stuff they can't find around here. When Tsukasa saw merchants, his eyes lit up with hope, because it opened up more possibilities for him in exploring this world. Since merchants travel from place to place to sell goods, he could join them and travel along with them to reach a bigger town or a city. It's exactly the right timing, as if fate was telling him to move on. Zozo then asked him what's up. Tsukasa just gave him the spoils he hunted today and went over to the merchant's carriage. He greeted the merchant standing there and asked him if he could meet their leader. Tsukasa was then introduced to the merchant's leader, Giselle, and he asked what they could do for him. Tsukasa talked to them about traveling, and Giselle didn't mind him traveling with them at all. However, he would like him to assist them in guarding them along the way, since having a job holder to protect them would be reassuring. Tsukasa was suspicious, since he didn't tell him about him being a job holder. Then he realized since Giselle was a merchant after all, he must have gathered information from the villagers while selling goods to them. He didn't think it's a bad deal, so he accepted the condition put by Giselle, and they were set to depart in 2 days. He offered a handshake to Tsukasa, and he thought since they know handshakes, he might find out more about this world with these merchants. Right then, Zozo overheard his conversation with Giselle and seemed surprised. Tsukasa realized he decided things on a whim and should have told them before. Zozo was sad to see Tsukasa will be leaving the village, and Tsukasa himself doesn't know how to respond. It feels kind of hard to say now compared to the time he could just leave any company just because he had nothing to obtain there. Tsukasa knows that even that approach was important, but he doesn't want to be inconsiderate to villagers. He apologized to Zozo for not consulting him earlier, but it's just that he wanted to see more of the world out there and become stronger. Zozo thought that was really cool, and even though it's a bit sad, he still respects the choice made by Tsukasa, since it's his life. Tsukasa was glad Zozo was the first guy he met in this world, since he's really nice. Later, he also went to the village chief to tell him about his leave in 2 days, and after the chief heard he'd leave for Rassel town, he just stayed silent. Tsukasa recalled that the chief used to answer his questions without a hint of annoyance, which was something he really appreciated. So he felt like he owed an apology for leaving after all Esta had done for him. Esta told him not to feel sorry at all, since Tsukasa was the one who helped his village through a crisis. So it's them who owe him a lot. Tsukasa can't handle such nice people, and it would be easier if they weren't this nice. Next, he shared this to Granny Gerda, and it's thanks to her constantly working him out with herbs that Tsukasa's highest level job was apothecary. She has also been a very lesson of picking wisely whom to reveal his job, and while he was working under her, she imparted a great deal of knowledge to him. Despite not being a job holder, she could easily rival those with jobs with her high-level knowledge. Her knowledge, mixed with his apothecary job, helped him gain years of wisdom in a very short time, and it's all thanks to Granny Gerda's experience piled up over her lifetime. She pointed out he seemed reluctant to leave. Tsukasa straight up denied that's not like it. She wanted to share more knowledge with him before he left, and since he didn't have much time, she bought more herbs and all from merchants and put him to work right away against his wishes. Tsukasa had to work till the last minute he had to leave, and eventually he got out to meet the merchants as they prepared to depart in the morning. Since Tsukasa was leaving, all the villagers came to see him off, and Giselle stated it's natural since he was a benefactor to their village. Villagers hoped to meet him again one day, and with that, Tsukasa left with a smile on his face. Giselle asked him to sit tight, and he told them to get moving. Otherwise, staying any longer here might dull his senses, which would be so unlike him. Tsukasa can't feel more thankful that his starting point was this village. On the way, there was some noise in the forest near the road. While merchants were cautious of it, Tsukasa was expecting those creatures to come around now. Merchants were scared when they saw silver wolves chasing them, and they started speeding up the carriage. Tsukasa told them to keep moving, while he'll handle the wolves from behind. Tsukasa was actually happy to confront these wolves here, since it means he would get to do one last job for villagers, so they won't have to face any trouble later, and Tsukasa could leave with a peace of mind. He casted stone lances from below the wolves, taking out 3 of them in an instant. Rest of them charged from the sides, and this time he aimed stone lances from the side of the carriage. One silver wolf got close from the other side, then Tsukasa switched his job to hunting and shot an arrow at the wolf while others were supporting him. He aimed precisely at the wolf's eye, and his accuracy was way better thanks to higher level and being used to hunting. Giselle remarked he was quite a great help, and if he wanted, they could stop the carriage so Tsukasa could collect the spoils. But Tsukasa told them to continue, since he can't afford to delay a busy merchant for a small reward. Moreover, he was looking forward to this new place, where he'll gain more experience, meet more people, and explore more things out there. Later, when they were near the end of their trip, Giselle remarked that Tsukasa's bag was quite unusual, so he wanted to buy it. But Tsukasa can't sell his office bag just like that, since it's his only memory from the previous world. The coachman told them Rassel was visible now, and Tsukasa quickly looked from the side, seeing the new city he'll be staying in for a while. At the entrance, he saw the guards were checking people one by one before letting them enter the city. He was pretty excited, until he noticed some people were showing something like an identity card to the guards for entry. Tsukasa became wary all of a sudden and worried, since he had nothing to prove his identity in this world. He asked Giselle for some advice, then Giselle told him he could show his status plate and pay 100 gold as toll to enter the city. Tsukasa then noticed some people just showed their status plates and didn't have to pay a toll for entry. Giselle explained that those people are adventurers, and if they are registered with the guild, they don't have to pay any tolls. It's the same case for merchants who are affiliated with the merchant guild, and Tsukasa was starting to understand the workings a bit better now. When it was his turn, the guard asked for his status plate, and Tsukasa recalled that his plate originally says Job Changer, but to others, it'll only show the active job he has. He has tested it multiple times with Granny earlier, and now when the guard saw his plate, he asked Tsukasa if he's planning to become an adventurer here. Tsukasa agreed to his plans, and guards greeted him warmly. Later in the city, Giselle and Tsukasa talked about him wanting to work as an adventurer, in which case Giselle decided to give him lift to the guild. Tsukasa actually wanted to master all the jobs available to him and lead a good life, which was pretty much the same approach as his previous world. And defeating monsters was the fastest way to achieve it in this world. It's kind of like working as a freelancer, which has its own risks and benefits, except the risk here was his life. He thanked Giselle for escorting him to the guild, and he asked them what they were going to do from here. Giselle replied that since they are merchants, they'll just restock and start selling goods to somewhere else again, since it's part of their job as merchants after all. Tsukasa was amazed they won't even rest a bit in the city, and since it means they'll be parting ways here, they saw each other off and Tsukasa headed to the Adventurers Guild. On the road, he saw creatures of many kinds of species, both from humans to beastmen and elves, eventually reaching the Adventurers Guild. Inside, the place was all bustling and lively with adventurers and receptionists, but in the middle of that, our boy was more focused on something else, as he went to a window and checked if there's dust around the edges. He believed that a corporation with a clean entrance was trustworthy, and since the guild was so clean, he could trust on it. After that, he saw the receptionist and she welcomed him to the Rassel's branch of Adventurers Guild. She introduced herself as Lucia, and Tsukasa told her he was here to register as an adventurer. She asked him for a fee of 500 gold, along with his status plate. He handed them over, and when she saw he was actually a job holder, a mage at that, she quickly thought highly of him, and also ensured his combat abilities look all great. She asked him to place the status plate into this machine for issuing his guild card, and the whole process was smooth, finished in just a jiffy, and he was ready to go as an adventurer. She explained about ranks ranging from S to F, with F being the bottom, and also mentioned how rare and tough it was to level up. Tsukasa saw the images of the top-ranking adventurers, Dragon Knight Tylan and Beast Tamer Odinia, and she also told him about notable figure, the Holy Knight Stefia, who despite not being an adventurer was pretty strong and take up missions comparable to S ranks from the church. Tsukasa applauds her deep passion for her work, He himself knows how rare advanced jobs are, just like his job changer skill, which is unique to him. He knows he might have basic jobs right now, but if he leveled them up, each one of his jobs could become S-rank ones, which he'll eventually aim for. Now, she detailed him on starting with quests, and since he's a job holder, despite being an F rank, he could take on E-rank quests as well from the board over there. Moreover, if he gets into a party, he could take even higher ranked quests. She made sure to warn him not to take on quests way higher than he could handle, since life's always a priority, and the guild will keep determining his rank based on the quests he completes in future. And depending on the results, adventurers who keep doing reckless things end up being demoted as well. Tsukasa understood the Adventurer Guild is basically like a company that connects adventurers to the clients, and they can't let someone who isn't suited for a rank take on quests and fail them. The system wasn't hard to understand since it was very similar to the corporate world. Stefia asked him if he had any questions, but Tsukasa was fine, and he thanked her for the detailed expression. She was moved to see such a well-behaved job holder, and when he asked her if she's all right, she told him it's just that. Usually, job holders tend to be rude or not so humble. Tsukasa wondered just how many job holders out there already ruined their image as masses. He could understand that some people, if born with power, would eventually become arrogant and start thinking they are better than others. But Tsukasa don't plan on becoming like that, since it just doesn't sit well with them. Now, he went over to the quest board and checked the quest. There were all sorts from monster hunting to collecting herbs and cleaning streets. Heck, it even had caregiving. He can't believe there's even a job like that. Although, the quest requires the adventurers of only certain job, which is a sage with level 80 or higher. The reward amount was extremely high and tempting, and the quest was marked A rank. Tsukasa wonders if he could really make that much money by doing quests like that, and if it's for real, there's no reason to slack off and he needs to quickly level up by taking as many quests he could as possible starting tomorrow. Firstly, he looked around for an inn named Tiger Cat Inn, which was recommended to him by Giselle. When he found the place, the entrance gave him a sort of fluffy vibe, and as far he knew Giselle, who specially mentioned that employees here were cute, Tsukasa was curious to see what kind of staff they have working here. He was imagining a time when his co-worker recommended him to a good enjoyment place with full privacy, and inside he ended up being surrounded by maid cosplay girls. Now, as he entered, a beastkin girl welcomed him, and Tsukasa had to admit she was looking very cute. He asked her if there's any room available here. She told him the price for a room without including meals is 600 gold per night. Tsukasa decided to stay here for a week, and she said it would be 4,200 gold for him. She told him to write his name on the register. While she got his name, she introduced herself as Nola. After that, she showed him to his room. Her cheerful nature was surely sweet, and Tsukasa could understand why Giselle liked this place. When she showed him to his room, he was amazed it was a really spacious and nice room, even bigger than his Japan's room, which was uncomfortable. He told her the room was really lovely. She claims she keeps extra care of cleaning here since they can't have any dirty or smelly rooms for customers. Tsukasa knows it's a given since the beastman has a good nose and would take care of smells, but then he realized he himself might not be clean right now. Since in the past week he had been traveling, he could only wipe himself with hot water magic and didn't get any proper bath. He asked her if there's a bathhouse in this city, and she told him about the public bath where everyone could relieve their muscles and relax themselves. Tsukasa was pretty glad to see the bath was way larger than he imagined, and it could fit even 100 people. In certain parts of the bathhouse, he saw warnings of deep water there, which made him wonder who it could be for. Right then, a lizard man went past him and sat inside the bathtub. Tsukasa didn't expect there would be different sorts of baths for all races, which excites him and also gives a reminder that he's in another world after all. Now, he wanted to ensure he takes a proper bath, and after observing others, he noticed they were using the provided shampoo without worry. It seemed suitable for both human and non-human races, and according to Appraisal, it was made from the fluids of a milky-named monster. The fact what it was made from was a bit unsettling, but he just went ahead thinking what could be so wrong if others are using it without worrying. He kinda liked the shampoo and could also see it had a pretty great effect on others' hairs as well. Now he was ready to sink in the bath, but the water was too hot, and a regular seemed to be blocking the faucet there. Since he's a newcomer, he didn't want any trouble, so he decided to just tolerate it as much as he could. But it was hella hot. Then, the badly signaled towards a suspicious-looking button behind him. Tsukasa had a button behind his seat as well, so he pressed it, and more water fell from the head. He sensed magic power used in the water, which means a magic circle must be built somewhere around here. He smiled while looking at Baldy. In a few minutes, he was used to this bath already. It was very comfortable, and Tsukasa noticed this water had relaxing effects on everyone, regardless of their races. Now he was completely ready for tomorrow's quests. Then he saw the lizard man was enjoying a jet bath and wanted to try it right away. But the moment he pressed the button, he was flown off all of a sudden by the strong pressure which was only meant for lizardmen, not humans. Next day, Nola asked if he slept well. He agreed, and she told him he could now have breakfast, recommending to try boar steak. Tsukasa decided to go with that, and she ordered one from her father who will be the one cooking it. The lion guy quickly cooked up the meal, and Nola carried it to the table. Tsukasa was amazed she could lift heavy plates with no trouble at all, probably thanks to her beastkin strength. He dug into the food, and the meat was so delicious and well cooked that it didn't even have any of that beast-like bad smell left. Not long ago, he never would have imagined having steak for breakfast, but now he might get hooked on it. Just then, a troublesome adventurer came and shouted at Nola to bring his order, as he can't wait for his meals like others. The way he rudely spoke to her pissed off her father, and the lion guy came with his dual swords to beat the hell out of that guy and taught him a lesson. After that, Tsukasa went to the Adventurers Guild to get started on the quests. But the very first sight in mourning was of adventurers fighting each other for the quests on the board. Stefia wished Tsukasa mourning, while he asked her what the hell was going on here. She told him that new quests are posted on the board every morning, so it tends to get crowded this time. Tsukasa understood it was basically first come first serve, and she claimed it's pretty normal here. Then she heard two adventurers fighting over the quest, and one of them argued that he was waiting in front of the entrance since last night to get a good quest. Stefia went over and scolded that guy, since it wasn't permitted to pull an all-nighter for picking quests. Otherwise, they would be demoted. The crowd eventually ran away after picking Thier quests. Then Stefia showed him a quest of herb gathering, which required him to gather dozel herbs. He decided to pick that one since he had picked them before, and Stefia registered him for that quest. Although he was curious, were they short on dozel herbs or something, to put up a quest for it? She replied that despite the high demand for it, the herbs were hard to find, so they were always short on supply. And that's also why the guild hands out quests for it. Tsukasa decided to choose it for his first job and promised to gather as many as he could find. She thought he was really reliable, as she saw him getting a basket right away for the quest. She also told him to prioritize his safety first whenever he's doing a quest. Tsukasa humbly listened to her advice, since it's an important skill to listen to others. Now, he wanted to give a try to his new skill he gained as an apothecary, which would speed up the herb gathering a lot, and help him build a solid track record to get bigger quests in the future. Now, he went to the forest to look for dozel herbs, which grow in the shallower parts of the forest. But after he calculated the reward was 50 gold per herb, requiring minimum 10 to finish the quest, and also adding 200 gold bonus for completing, it would come to 700 gold per day, which was hardly any profit. So he just decided to switch his job to apothecary and used a new skill he gained after reaching level 10, the herb detection. After using it, he could see the herbs glowing around the area, no matter if they were behind trees or bushes. With this skill, he can't collect herbs he hasn't gathered before. But with this, he should be unbeatable when it comes to herb gathering. It didn't take him long to return back to the guild after completing the quest, and when he delivered a bunch of dozel herbs, which was way more than minimum herbs required, the receptionist was shocked to see he collected like over 200 dozel herbs in such a short time. He told her to go ahead and check them, after which the guild staff thoroughly checked the herbs and counted them, and they really were 206 herbs, and all of them were real dozel herbs. Stefia questioned Tsukasa, how the hell did he manage to gather them in such a short time, since it should have been possible only if he were an apothecary. Tsukasa knew it would make him look suspicious, but he got the perfect excuse, saying that he trained extensively under a remote apothecary, so he was quite skilled at herbs gathering. Stefia thought it made sense, and apologized for doubting him. Now that they confirmed the quest completion with 10 of dozel herbs, she asked if he would like to sell the remaining 196 herbs as well. Tsukasa went ahead and sold them, gaining 10,000 gold at once in total, which was an impressive amount for an F-rank adventurer. He recalled times when he would curse behind Granny Gerda's back for being worked so extensively, but it turned out all of that hard work paid off. Now he decided to take up more herbs gathering quests, so he took on the jobs to collect silver herb and Kirik herbs. Stefia questioned if he was going to collect these herbs in high quantities as well. He confirmed that, and the staff was heavily counting on him to bring on that many herbs. Later, Tsukasa brought the herbs just as he promised, and the staff couldn't believe their eyes, seeing so many precious herbs in front of them, although it was a pain checking them one by one. Stefia, on the other hand, suggested Tsukasa to try on monster subjugation quests now, but Tsukasa thought that ordinary adventurers like him should stick to herb gathering as a beginner. But Stefia doesn't think so, and exclaimed he's by no means a normal adventurer, because there hasn't been a single F-rank who could collect so many herbs in one day. He asked if that's really the case. She confirmed it herself. Tsukasa thought leisurely gathering herbs wasn't bad at all, and he was getting used to it. But Stefia mentioned that, thanks to him, that issue was resolved. But it's obvious that he's not just a regular F-rank adventurer. and the guild wouldn't like it to see a talented individual just wasting away their potential. So she recommended him to take on a subjugation request right now, and she would even raise his rank if he managed to complete it. Tsukasa was immediately motivated after hearing of the promotion, and he asked her to sign him up for a subjugation request right away. Since his promotion was guaranteed, he didn't care what monster he would have to fight at all and asked her which one it would be. She suggested him up for a kobold or red boar subjugation quests, and he picked both of them at once. She was indeed a little surprised by his enthusiasm, but don't doubt he could do it at all since he's a mage. She signed him up for both the quests, after which Tsukasa headed into the forest right away to finish the quests. He recalled that ever since he teleported to this world, he had fought a great mantis right away, and also fought a pack of silver wolves, so he was already way above the level of a beginner. Since these kobolds and red boar ranked below those monsters, he wondered which one of them he should hunt down first, but before he knew it, he found himself collecting more herbs out of habit. He snapped out of it and focused again, since today would be an important day to gain promotion and get higher ranking quests, to earn more money. He soon encountered a red boar, and at first he was a little startled by it, while the red boar straight up sprinted at him. Tsukasa casted Stone Lance and took care of the red boar instantly, but while he thought the situation was calm now, more red boars surrounded him from multiple directions and charged at him. Tsukasa casted Stone Lance from the footing of the monsters, taking them out without missing a single attack. The red boar subjugation was completed with this, and he also got a proof without a scratch, although he was worried about one thing, that he was only using magic to fight monsters so far, and he should also level up other jobs to keep a balance between them. Thus, he decided to try hunting kobolds with another job. Once he found a kobold, he saw the kobold had a spear in its hand. Tsukasa switched his job to a thief and sneakily ran past the kobold and stole the spear from it. The kobold was startled by losing its weapon without realizing, while Tsukasa switched his job to a spearman and landed a direct strike under the neck of the kobold. He managed to kill one of them without any trouble, and it gave him confidence to keep going. He fought the next kobold with the same job and skillfully used the spear to deal with it. He killed off the kobold by hitting its leg to make it lose its footing and dealt the finishing blow to its heart. He fought and won with ease, completing the subjugation request without any trouble. Later, he returned to the guild with subjugation proof, and Stefia congratulated him for being promoted to E rank. Tsukasa thanked her, but she can't help but point out how amazing it was for him to rank up in just one day after registering the guild, which was the fastest record so far. Tsukasa thought it shouldn't be rare for a job holder, but Stefia told him that just being a job holder doesn't mean a person could complete so many quests so quickly, and the fastest record before him was 10 days to reach E rank from F. So she wanted him to know how big of a achievement he just achieved with his hard work. Tsukasa accepted the praise from the staff and politely claimed he would work hard and aim for D rank next. His humbleness really pleased the guild staff, while Tsukasa was already preparing in his brain to work hard to achieve that S rank and live luxuriously. Stefia then told him he should keep healing potions from now on before entering the battles. When he heard it, he found it odd how casually she just mentioned something very important. He recalled potions were made by alchemists, and he could make them as well by switching his job to one. But even so, he wanted to see some potions with his eyes. Thus, he asked Stefia for a shop run by an alchemist. She told him about a shop in the north, owned by a job holder alchemist, although she was a bit anxious about him visiting there. But Tsukasa just went ahead to see the place himself, excited to meet a job holder for the first time. Ideally, he would like to deepen his connection with a job holder for future learning. But when he asked Stefia about this job holder, she seemed to have only vague words to describe it. He has heard that many job holders are arrogant and hard to deal with, so he hopes this one won't be a problem. After he reached the place with the alchemist shop, he didn't even have to look around to spot the fancy shop with a luxurious feeling to it. After he walked into the shop, he found the place a bit too tacky for his taste. More than an alchemist shop, it looked more of a jewelry store. There were all sorts of potions for strength, agility, and health, and eventually he found the potions he was looking for, basic healing potions. They came under rank 1 types for minor injuries, followed by rank 2 potions used for complex ones, and lastly rank 3 potions capable of restoring limbs. He realized the effectiveness of potions was drastically different in each rank, and their price was way more ridiculous, being around 10 gold for even rank 1 potions. And here, even after completing so many quests, he only managed to earn like 14 gold coins. So, if he buys even one of these basic potions, he would still go broke. Right then, the alchemist who runs the shop asked him if he got some problems here. Tsukasa was startled by the sudden interference of the alchemist, and after taking a good look at him, he mentioned, "It's just the prices of potions here are too high for him, who's only been promoted to E rank recently. The alchemist hates low-rank adventurers, and he started blabbering about how valuable his potions were just because they were crafted by a job-holder alchemist, and he claimed these were reasonable prices for them. But when Tsukasa appraised them, he could only see ingredients he had collected earlier. The price would roughly cost around 2,000 gold, which was rather cheap compared to the ridiculous price of the item. While he was thinking about the item's cost and its effects value, the alchemist was boasting about his family and background as an alchemist. But our boy wasn't paying any mind to it and recalled a time when he was part of an importing firm, where he learned one thing, that regardless the cost price of a product, a person should sell their product at the value they feel like will be worth for it. So, setting the price just a little above cost price was irrelevant, which means he could have a blast by using his alchemist skills and make some potions himself. He leaves the shop, thanking Alchemist for the valuable experience he had here, and now he wanted to give it a try making potions himself. Tsukasa went to the market and bought all the ingredients and tools he'll need to make potions, after which he set up the extractor and all to start making potions. He switched the job to Alchemist and put the normal water into the pot and made it float using his psychic ability, then mixed it with magic in the air to acquire the first ingredient for potion, magic water. After that, he allowed the magic water to cool down, while he worked on making the extract with dozel herbs. He carefully pulverized them and heated the mixture with a fireball, after which enhanced medical components with mainly alchemy skills. After which he diluted the mixture and obtained the final potion ready to use right away. He decided to make more potions since it'll be good for leveling up his alchemist skills as well. He kept at it the whole night and ended up making a whole batch of potions since he was having fun. Also, the thought of profit he'll make on them kept him motivated, and now it just leaves him the trouble of selling these potions before they expire. He packed them in a bag and went out to sell them to a place where it won't raise suspicion for a mage to sell potions. Thankfully, he found just the right shop for this the previous day, named Rassel's General Store, and the reason why it was best suitable for him was because the owner was a person with appraisal job who could identify the quality of potions without making a fuss over him being an alchemist or not. He entered the shop and got welcomed by Rassel, who was sitting at the counter with an abacus by her waist. However, when Tsukasa looked around the shop, the shabby and poor look made him suspect if he could even make a profit here. He told her that he wanted to sell these potions here, and she checked out the potion bottles for a moment, but seemed a bit disappointed. She reminded him if he even saw the board outside saying she's an appraiser, so she could spot fakes from the real ones. Tsukasa was surprised, and he told her these were all real potions. But she doubted that because Tsukasa was a mage, she confirmed it with her appraisal. And even though his stats were stupidly high for a mage, she doesn't see him being capable of making potions, which is a speciality of an alchemist. Tsukasa realized she was clever, and had been using appraisal on him all along, so he went ahead and asked her to appraise the potions instead. When she did that, Rassel was astonished to see these were indeed real potions, and all high-quality ones at that. Tsukasa was glad she was convinced now, and she apologized for doubting him. Now, he asked her if she would like to buy them, but she didn't really know for sure, since potions were known to be expensive, and she doesn't really have that much money on her right now. But instead of the market price of 100,000 gold, Tsukasa decided to sell her the potions for 80,000 a bottle. She was tempted by the price, but was curious why he was offering them for such a lower price compared to what other shops could give him. Tsukasa reasoned that it would be less hassle to deal with an appraiser like her. She understood the deal. She got cheap potions for not questioning him about the source of them. She made the deal with him and introduced herself as Rassel. Tsukasa was glad he made an agreement with her, and he feels like things would work out just fine with this elf. Rassel assured him she would buy the potions, and if he got more of them, she would buy them as well. Tsukasa was excited to hear that and added mana recovery potions as well, around 50 of them. Rassel didn't expect the guy to literally have so many potions on him, and she shouted she still needed to make some money from the potions she already bought to buy more of them, although she was sure they would sell fast since they are giving them at a much better price than others. In that case, Tsukasa decided to just sit down and see through the sales himself, and thus, he acquired a large sum of 800,000 gold by just selling healing potions. He had a lot of money on him now, so he decided to visit the gun shop. At this rate, he could become rich by just being an alchemist, which seemed sustainable enough at one glance. Even so, Tsukasa wasn't the type to stop, and wanted to be prepared for worst-case scenarios where alchemists might not be useful in future anymore. So, having only one way of making a living was too risky. He decided to visit Doran's weapons shop, and inside the place was really awesome as it had really all sorts of weapons for every job. Tsukasa figured that weapons in this world provide a huge buff to one's status, and at the same time, they also had level requirements to equip them. His current sword didn't have any special effects or requirements, and he wondered if he should buy a sword first. But then he should also buy a magic staff for mage job. He realized that if he were to buy weapons for each job of his, he would have way too many options to choose from, since there's like at least 20 jobs he could change into. Moreover, even the 800,000 he got weren't nearly enough to afford weapons for each job. He wanted to become a moderately rich person, but now his dream was shattered in an instant. So, for now, he decided to get only one or two weapons, but he's not sure how he would carry all of them. He called out the shop owner, who was a dwarf who was in the middle of crafting another weapon. The dwarf looked at him and he was surprised for the first time in his life, since with his eyes he could determine the kind of weapon a person uses and needs. But as for Tsukasa, the dwarf Doran can't tell what his main weapon was, and Tsukasa's body and his aura were both irregular. He asked him what his main job was, to which he replied it was mage, which came out surprising since to Doran, Tsukasa seemed more like a swordsman. He then asked Tsukasa what weapon he wanted. Then Tsukasa asked for a steel sword, short wand, and a dagger. Doran was suspicious why he was buying so many weapons like that. It's not like he minded doing more sales. And while he was picking them out, Tsukasa asked for an iron javelin as well, getting on Doran's confused nerves even more. Tsukasa checked the weapons one by one while changing jobs to ensure he was compatible with them. Although, it also means he would be sleeping at the inn for a while to recover the MP later. He muttered, having an item box would have been great if it existed. Then Doran confirmed that it actually does. And the item box was so valuable that it was sold only in places like auctions, involving high-ranking adventurers and powerful figures. Moreover, even a small capacity one usually sells for several 100,000 gold, which was way out of what he could even afford. It seems like he won't be able to buy one of them, and depending on how things are right now, he can't even join the auction with his current status and condition. Right then, Doran told him not to buy armors for now, because once someone hits level 10, they could use much better equipment, so he would have to go through the hassle of replacing too quickly. Tsukasa figured Doran was unexpectedly a kind guy, and now that his shopping of weapons was done, he headed to the Adventurers Guild to take on some more quests now. However, people were looking at him with strange eyes, as if something was going on, but Tsukasa didn't have an idea what it could be. Everyone was glaring at him, and eventually a guy with spiky hairs confronted him, questioning if he's the one who ranked up abnormally fast. Tsukasa was nervous, as he asked what about it. But then the guy kindly praised him. He's really amazing, which relieved him a lot, since he was afraid something was about to happen. Now he went over to the job board, and after reaching E rank, he could take on more kinds of subjugation quests. Tsukasa wanted to level up quickly, so he picked up a subjugating quest of 20 goblins. Stefia was glad to see he was already taking E rank subjugating quests, although she was worried if he got any potions. Tsukasa claimed he did, although the alchemist she recommended was a peculiar person. She knows that, and also could imagine how much trouble Tsukasa must have had there. But that aside, she was glad there were virtuous job holders like Tsukasa out there. Tsukasa gets the feeling she must have gone through a lot of troubles talking to many job holders. He was glad he at least met people like Rassel. Now, she signed him up for the goblin subjugation and wished him luck. On the hunt, Tsukasa decided to fight a little with swordsmanship, and in front of him goblins were no match at all. He was just repeating sprint, slash, and dive, while dodging and counter-attacking them in the middle. His sword was so sharp he could even cut through the club. The sword effect was also at play. Moreover, he noticed the level of his job changer also increased. He recalled that when reached level 10 as apothecary, he received a new skill, and now he wondered what would happen with the job changer profession himself when he levels up. He checked it out, hoping to find something interesting, and shockingly, the skill he achieved was the very item box he wanted. Damn, he can't control his feelings at the sight of the item box, and he never expected he could just obtain it by leveling up his job changer. He tried using it and put some goblin subjugation proofs in it, but it failed, because he haven't met the condition to be able to use the item box. The condition to unlock it was to level up 5 jobs to level 10, and currently he had only one, which was apothecary. Tsukasa decided to go all out and level up as quickly as possible. And to do that, goblins seem to be the best targets, since there are literally hundreds of them out there in the forest. He eventually killed 20 goblins, which was enough for the quest, but he wanted to keep going further until he unlocked the item box. He decided to hunt even further, so he changed to hunting to find a settlement of goblins. There, he found something unexpected, as he saw some goblins fighting with kobolds. This was a golden chance for him to gain some bonus experience points and benefit from this fight between the monsters. Once they began fighting, Tsukasa ran through the sides and used the magic staff to hit them with the boosted power of a wind spell, killing them off in one single attack. After this, his mage job reached level 10, requiring him to upgrade 3 more jobs to level 10 only, to unlock the item box. He switched back to hunter job and placed his hand on the ground to observe the forest and find more monsters. Eventually, he sensed some traces of more monsters, and after he followed them, he found a whole nest of goblins around a cave, and he refused to let go of this chance to level up.